This video was not easy to do. I'm afraid this time I'm reporting from the dark side. There was a collision on lap 1 and I may have to carry much of the blame for it. I say much and not all of the blame because there is a substantial mitigating factor that got overlooked. Anyway, to top it off, what followed this incident was just a comedy of errors that you just can't make up. At first, things looked okay. I had tons of practice, worked out a good race setup, and the start was okay. Exiting Craner curves was not ideal, but I managed to catch up again. Soon I could take advantage of a battle in front and got into P4. And that's when it all fell apart. Being the new guy to the server, I gave a quick "my bad" as a first reaction in the chat because I had pushed someone off track. But I was just in disbelief at that point. This should not have happened. Even the AI raced closer and faster during my preparation. But anyway, since then I did a deep dive into the lead up to the accident and I'll just pause the video here to go over the result. Starting with a composite image using the exact breakpoints of the top 4 on lap 1. With that in mind, just what is possible here in a GT3 Hurricane, even for an amateur driver, max fuel, cold brakes and no assists of course. Braking nice and late and clean through the chicane. So let's see, brake lights come on, and so that's our safe brake point. Let's swing it around to line up the image. Just give me a sec. Now, since the Hurricane has a length of 4.5 meters, we can perfectly calculate each painted section of curb to be 1.6 meters in length, and so the safe brake distance to the marker is exactly 3.2 meters. Now to the race. Brake lights on, swing it around, count the laps, and that's a distance of 17.6 meters to the marker. Mind you, that is not a slow driver by any stretch, and so I'm afraid the reason for this situation escapes me, especially since everyone else managed to brake far later and still remain well within the safe zone. Either way, I admit that a bigger gap was required, at least double at the bare minimum, just to be ready for whatever happens in front of me. After the race, my action was labeled as egregious, which I was surprised to read since I never race with bad intentions ever. I immediately got a penalty, but that one's okay of course. More importantly, since my review, I got all the answers that I needed and it won't happen again. So with that out of the way, back to the race. My suspension was severely damaged from flying over that curb. I thought I may have to retire the car, but of course the next thought was, stuff that. Okay, maybe it was silly to try another lap with this shopping trolley from hell, but I thought, just carry on and see what happens. It's a long race. Little I knew what did lay ahead. There was no point hoping for a miracle as the car was not going to fix itself, and so I pitted for lengthy repairs. As I sat there watching the GT3s passing me, while my steering was getting bent back into shape, that was not a nice experience. The driver I made contact with didn't suffer any damage to the car and was returning to the back of the GT3s and probably cursing my existence. Now driving on a racer's edge to regain lost positions and with me in the mirror again maybe, who knows, all that soon caused a spin. I just felt sorry having to look at all this. At that point, I just wanted to be somewhere else, preferably the opposite side of the track. Since I was laps behind, I had to move out of everyone's way, spirit almost broken, miles behind, still in the race, but only on paper. And then an incident between that Lambo and the Ferrari must have been the last straw. Somehow I ended up on a long lap penalty, which was almost funny then. I just knew this wasn't going to be a successful day at the track. My race was essentially over at this point, but with retirement off the table, I couldn't just be cruising around. Except passing the GTR Force was a bit nerve-wracking. I thought just one more collision and I may just have to leave the country. But actually, that's not fair. The Australia-New Zealand racing moderators, they are fast and serious when it comes to the racing, but they also like to have a bit of fun in the chats. The few times I raced there, there's always been a good atmosphere. The second pit stop was a monumental disaster. I had my coffee, with my mind going back to the incident, while I totally forgot to turn off the ignition so no fuel would get delivered. I was just sitting there while other cars came and went. Oh, and crickets from the Do Nothing pit crew. Come on, Simbin, show them.
Cut the engine now, we can't begin refueling until it's off.
More time wasted. Not that it really mattered. At this stage everything fell off. More mistakes started to creep in, no doubt for a lack of purpose and no hope whatsoever. Time to get my act together. And with a clear track, I almost remembered why I was here. Third pit stop for fuel only, and this time I was careful to turn off the ignition, but I accidentally also killed the speed limiter thanks to my new steering wheel, and by then I was racing in the dark. So when I took off again, I got slapped with a 30-second penalty for
Speeding!
Is that all?
No!
yeah, a bit of comedy when in fact it was more of a tragedy. I think by this time a more sensible person would have read the tea leaves and quit. I felt like hitting my head against the wall. Feels good when you stop. But hey, whatever could go wrong already did go wrong, right? So just bring it home, it's just a walk in the park. Of course it wasn't. Donington had one more surprise. Lap 43, this happened. Yep, my Corsair headphones just stopped working. I was so shocked I nearly crashed right there. Dead silence. Not out of charge, not muted, just a dropped connection. I tried to fix this problem on track, but not a chance. It's totally weird driving in complete silence. I have no idea what my car is doing, and of course nobody else knew what the heck was going on. So into the pits once again, and power cycle the transmitter so I can get the audio back up and running. Back on track once more, and I look at the sign and I think what it means is, you're too old for all this, take a hint already. To my surprise, the remainder of the race was uneventful, even though it's not much of a race when you can't compete with cars that are light years ahead of you. The funny thing is though, what should have been my worst race ever, it really wasn't. It definitely was a questionable indulgence for our 1.5 hours, with all the things that went wrong along the way, with everything fighting against me. Actually mostly myself. but when that Lambo went over the finish line, that moment felt like a small victory. So take that, Donington. I still finished that last, of